Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Andrew Jackson with the AGA. I'm joined by Ryan Lee, 1Pro, and Stephanie Yin, 1Pro, of the China Qiyuan and the AGA, not respectively. I got that backwards. But anyway, thank you guys both so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on another one of the master games that AlphaGo played. And which one are we going to see tonight here?
The one against Park Yeonghun.
Park Yeonghun. And how did you guys decide that this was one of the games that you wanted to show?
This is the game you picked.
This is the one.
So you're going to talk.
Oh,
okay. All right.
Well, so this last time we did a commentary with Xu Yue, and he was really more of a fighting style. So Park Yeonghun, he's more known for his more conserving and more calm play, and his end game was
very good.
Is advertised as one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
Did it come to that? Was that relevant here in this game against AlphaGo?
It's not very relevant, unfortunately.
Relevant.
But we kind of wanted to pick different styles games, like because AlphaGo beat like 60 pros, right? So we picked the fighting style, endgame style, and we want to see how AlphaGo managed to win those games. Play against different styles pros.
Sure. So in the game that you walked us through against Xu Yue earlier, you pointed out that Xu Yue had all that power, but he wasn't really able to use it because AlphaGo seemed to be very conservative and calm. Maybe not conservative and calm, but in somehow, by move 50. Yeah, exactly. So is the idea here that maybe Park Yeonghun is going to... Are we going to see a different style out of AlphaGo because Park Yeonghun's game is so different, or what's the goal here?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you have like more calm play, the value of each move is a lot. It needs to be better judged. And last time we talked about how AlphaGo is really good at judging these hidden values in these moves.
Got it. Got it. All right.
And we can also see it here, but then we see it more earlier because I think in this game, AlphaGo establishes a lead more early on and more clear.
Okay, so we'll focus here on the opening, and I guess Ryan, since as Stephanie mentioned, you chose this game, I think you can take it away here. Go ahead and show us at your pleasure.
Okay.
So Park Yeonghun here is white.
And also another thing is very interesting is Xu Yue is very fighting style, but AlphaGo played very conservative and very soft. Not very soft, but like at least they didn't fight a lot. But in this game, since I won't be able to. Yeonghun is very endgame style. So is it AlphaGo still be like very conservative? Or is going to be like very attacking. So let's see.
Yeah, so let's go into this game.
For his conservative style, he certainly started with an early approach.
Yeah, Park Yeonghun is white here. He approached this corner, and I think that's because he watched his friends play, and he knows that AlphaGo wants to do this opening.
So he just wants to stop that, put a stop to that right off. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, putting in and
So AlphaGo is doing a better job with black or white?
Well, he's won every game, so.
Right, okay.
He did the same.
He did the same thing. Okay.
100% versus 100%.
Okay, because some pros are better in white or black. They all have a preference in different
well, I'm trying to think. The only game that AlphaGo has lost was the one against Isedal. And which color? I think AlphaGo had.
He was.
Yeah.
AlphaGo is black.
Yeah, AlphaGo is black.
So AlphaGo clearly is better with white.
Well, if we have, since AlphaGo is so strong, I think it would be very interesting if we can see more AlphaGo versus AlphaGo games, and then maybe that's a better judgment of whether this 7.5, 6.5 coming, which one's more reasonable if we do any more adjustments. I think that's definitely one of the things I'm looking forward to.
Right. So when AlphaGo is playing against AlphaGo, how the result will be like a half point or like.
Oh, they're crazy. Those games are crazy.
Well, we did see 3 of those, right? And 3 of those were they were
because they know each other pretty like 100%.
They turn into huge fights. They don't know each other. It's just, I think they're just two machines facing off.
But the program is pretty much same.
They turn into huge fights as they have like some kind, like they force each other into all-ins because they both sort of agree, you know, if I keep doing this, I'm going to lose by half a point. So they're crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Okay,
okay.
Anyway.
So on with the game. So this was so the Joseki. This is a common Joseki like this, and I think white would
Tanuki for sure.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
AlphaGo.
I think white would take this 3 for a point.
I agree because the pincer move is not that very serious.
This is another thing that AlphaGo showed us is that this connecting Joseki, we don't really see that
from AlphaGo.
AlphaGo, right? So every time
he played, AlphaGo. I don't know.
Huh.
So AlphaGo played a Tiger's Mouth.
But Park Yeonghun here is white, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nowadays people stopped connecting that.
Yeah. So we're just saying like how this is one of the things, just like how Go Seigen changed many Josekis in his time. AlphaGo is changing the way we also changing our Josekis.
Right.
And this is a famous one, I think, from the first match against Lee Sedol, is AlphaGo played Q5, right?
Right. Yes, and AlphaGo always exchanges this first and continue.
Right.
So here, he did not fix because I think this way white might be better.
Because that peak, if white responds that peak move, it's going to be heavier. It's easier for black to pincer.
Right.
So I think that's the purpose of that move.
Right. That is. So if white responds, then
so black will either play on
maybe just
Q5, and then white has to respond because the group is heavier.
Right. Now this group is very heavy, and if white takes this and black pincers, this is going to be much harder to settle than what we had before.
Right, because before, if there's no that exchange move, when you pincer, white still can tanuki.
So after black playing at R6, if black plays at O5 now, white would never connect. White would just play here almost.
I mean, even though you're a pincer now, you play a pincer move, white still can tanuki because the shape is very light.
It's hard to attack. It's very flexible.
So that's why black wants to peek first.
Right. And I guess that also explains why white resists here on the outside, right?
Yeah.
White doesn't want to get a gote in that direction.
And since white responds here, black can tanuki.
Because the attachment move is not going to work.
Right. So for this Joseki, when black tanuki, usually white can attach, and this locally becomes this shape. That's one of the results of.
And this is considered locally an okay result for white because black's totally shut in.
Right. So white can play this move, and white can play this move. And this after the tiger's mouth, O2 is sente for white.
Got it. But you're saying that after that peep exchange, white can't attach anymore?
Right, because black can honey.
So now black can honey here, and this cut does not.
There's no cut.
Working. This gets cut. So black chooses this one. White approaches. So now the lower right side of white is very, very strong. So black chooses this side. It's pretty intuitive. And then white spends another move here. So there's a follow up if white. So I think this is a Joseki. I don't know if we call it a Joseki, but
it's Joseki. Yes. Okay.
So black has a follow up of Hane, right?
Right.
But so
white has to Hane from top.
Yeah, or this one.
Right.
And
then, or knight's move.
Here or here. So this is also kind of a Joseki as well. But I think black would choose this one
instead.
To focus on the right side.
Yeah, and play this one. Because black already has a stone here.
To limit the...
He already has the F4 stone, I assume you mean?
Yeah, the F4
You gotta
stone.
show him with the triangles here, because
yes.
I can't see the mouse.
Sorry. Right, so since black already has this stone, white's influence in the middle is not
as much. Definitely.
He's already limited.
That's why white should play this move, and also sort of threatening this going down at R6, and this makes the corner very small.
Okay.
So black pincers, and that's natural since white Tanuki. And now white approaches and goes down on this side.
This is also a following move after 06.
Right, that was the follow-up move that I was talking about. And I say that it reduces black's corners because since black is enclosed, white, all of these endgames are sente, essentially, for white.
All of which endgames? Sorry.
So I'm talking about this endgame. So if white plays this and also this, right? These are all sente. And I'll just do like a simple one. So all of these moves are all sente.
Sure.
So the corner is kind of squeezed.
Yeah, so it's very squeezed. And this is very different when you have like a bigger territory of like one side, right? So if it's like this extending down, depending on the situation, it might not be sente.
Got it.
So enclosing a group also has it's by itself, it's sort of gaining points.
Right. It's kind of hidden points.
Yeah.
You cannot see right now, but it just exists.
You'll get them later.
It's like potentially having points.
Right. Okay. But it's also very hard for black to respond that move because there's no very good responding move for that pincer move because it is pincer.
Yeah,
move.
So black can't really attach out because this is actually cut because of the 06
stones here. Yeah. So like when we're a kid, when our teacher always told us, when you don't know where to respond, you just tanuki.
Right.
Oh, man.
Okay.
That saying gets me in trouble. Let me tell you. Okay.
And also, I think this is might be a good point for not weaker players, but for emotional players. Like the difference between stronger player and weaker player is like stronger players always think where to tanuki and control or lead the whole board.
Sure.
But the weaker players are always respond the moves.
Sure.
We
talked about that in that last game against Shoyue. How Shoyue, the weaker player, I can't even say that. Ended up responding and following AlphaGo around the board.
Doesn't it feel good saying that?
It's bizarre. It is totally bizarre. Okay. Anyway, but you're saying that this is a difference between the strong players and the weaker players. Is the stronger players are thinking of where to tanuki to? Is that what you...
Yes. And they're always looking for a place to and let's say like lead or to control the whole board.
Control.
Yeah.
Got it. And so here, AlphaGo's tanukiing to the upper left-hand corner with this approach. Seems kind of normal so far?
I think so, yes.
So he approaches the corner, and he comes back. So this part is kind of harder, definitely harder to understand, because normally these exchanges
are really bad moves.
It makes white very thick.
Right, because white would, even though white enclosed the outside, but it still are not that strong yet. It's not that strong at the outside. But after those 4 exchange move here, 2 exchange move here, outside is getting stronger at least.
Yeah.
So does white play around M7 now to sort of, you know, make sure there's no cut on the outside, or is there? Because it's
you want to avoid playing a move at M7. That's a very good question.
Okay.
Because since white still has a lot of space on both sides, you would prefer extending out and putting your stones where there are points.
Got it. Rather than just protecting a cut and not making any points.
Right. So if you can enclose something with a weak group, then that's more efficient.
Got it.
Right, because you don't have to cut anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's.
So we had.
Oh, go ahead. You first.
Yeah.
You first.
Okay. So we actually had a pretty big discussion about why, or I wouldn't really want to call it a debate, but like a long discussion about why, sort of how to interpret this, right? So,
yeah.
And
well, what were you guys discussing? What was your position? What was his position? What were the 2 points of view here?
I think the first question is I don't understand why black played those 2 moves, because I don't think they're good. From my perspective, it's helping white to enclose and protect
the
outside. So, and Ryan, what's your opinion about those 2 moves?
So I am trying to, I'm trying really hard to interpret this because, Master played this.
So it can't be bad, right?
There's got to be a reason why he played this.
Okay, and what do you come up with, Ryan?
We don't have any conclusion yet.
So my interpretation was that when before this exchange, so let's go 1 move ahead. So this is what Master played after.
Okay.
So if black were to play this directly, so one thing first actually, but before that, I want to say that computers the computer before it always sort of they like to eliminate variations.
Sure, they seem to like to simplify the game and make it a smaller search space.
Right. It likes to simplify when it's ahead. So I think it's one of the ways of the computer saying that he thinks he's doing well.
Okay.
And another point is that white
only within 20 moves. You think he's ahead?
It wouldn't be unreasonable. It does seem to think it's ahead very early on. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was sort of like a general pattern. Like,
right.
The winning percentage was more than 50% pretty early.
Okay.
But I think white spending a move here is pretty big as well. So he might be calculating that if we just there was a little bit of a lag. So if white plays moves elsewhere, maybe eventually white will come back and
play this move.
Because
this is very big. Okay.
I have a question for you. You mentioned earlier that all of the moves around S5 and O2 were sente. You said they were like free points that were sort of hidden. Is that still true after black has made those exchanges?
Yes, that's a very good point. Because after this, after these exchanges, only this one is sente, I think.
Only white S5 is sente?
Right.
Because can black play O2 and then at least, catch that last eye?
Yeah. Black can do this, but black still has to.
We'll still have to come back. Okay.
And
all of these moves are not good moves, right? The Hane and Otari.
Yeah. So that's because if white jumps in, it's still
a ko.
Got it. Could you show me the ko there real quick that you guys leapt to immediately?
Yeah, and then Otari. Yes.
Right. So if you Atari, then I try this. And there's no way to avoid this because if you play a move here,
still Hane. You can Hane on the first line. Still can Hane on the first line. It's the same thing. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to.
It's the same.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the same.
Right.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
Same, but different,
Okay.
but still the same. All right, so it's a code.
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
can't avoid the
So
code.
you can't exchange you can never exchange R3 with at T3 because white will always play a ko.
So which means there's only one sentient move for white in the corner. So the honey or extending down is not sentient anymore because there's stones on the top. So I guess this is another reason why Master played this move to avoid more sentence.
That was my guess. So.
So in itself, it actually has a little bit of value. But for me, I could never copy this.
Because the evaluation is just...
It's very hard to control it.
Yeah.
Because the only thing we can see so far is we helped white to fix the group.
Right.
So anything else we cannot predict it right now. But apparently AlphaGo did.
So you were saying you wanted to look at this, in particular the opening, because we thought that AlphaGo got ahead fairly early on. Would you say that AlphaGo is ahead already?
What do you think?
I'm asking Ryan because I know he studied the game a bit more here on this one.
Yes. Right.
Well, I think in the beginning, white is judging by just these opening few moves. White is definitely a lot slower.
Right. It's very slow.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's.
Don't tell me.
We can't even say like when or how. But
don't tell me like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 move and black is already ahead.
Yeah. So right. So it's in this game it's. I don't know. The only thing I can really say is that white is playing slower than black.
Okay, so black strengthens white. What happens next? Is white able to do anything with these stones? Because black invades. So you showed us that what black is doing is black is saying that those exchanges don't matter before making this invasion. So
that's another thing I wanted to say was because these 4 exchanges is not like a whole pack, right? We have to take this stone as well into account.
Got it.
So after playing these moves, this move becomes huge, right? We can see the difference between white playing a move here and black playing R2, right? Because this moil is so big.
And it's like if black breaks that moil and white doesn't actually have anything on board anymore.
Right.
So that's the main territory.
So if white runs out the stone and black, if we just make some simple jumps, then this wall, these 4 stones that black just made with these exchanges, it doesn't really have much potential.
So it's like black has tricked white into making his stones inefficient.
Yes, and these exchanges are actually beneficial because black gain territory from it. Right.
And there's a lot of sentes for
white.
He
took one of the sentes off the corner.
If white can't use this wall effectively, then these exchanges are actually good.
Okay, so can white use this wall effectively? Like, does Park Yeonghun have a chance to use this wall effectively, or is it just?
Yeah. So after the stone is quite hard. So he
just sort of ignores it.
This move is actually very big as well. An extension for both players. So this black attaches now to reduce white and expand black. So this is almost the end of the opening, actually. After this, we see more local variations.
The fight starts, I think, because I think white needs to take care of the stones on the left.
Right.
Eventually, right?
White doesn't want to exchange this right now because then
closes out the
3 stone is stronger. So white attaches now, and now when we see this famous Goseigen Joseki.
Right. Right.
Yes.
He'll switcheroo Joseki.
And so these are almost all pretty
straightforward
moves. They're all forcing moves. And now black Tanukis again. So these exchanges, black leaves this group in the middle.
Leaves which? Sorry. I just didn't hear.
By Tanuki right, leaves these 4 stones in the middle. It's sort of in the middle, not really being connected.
Right.
And but they're not easy. They're not easily attacked.
Okay.
Because that's the only group, and this move is more or less sente.
It would be really hard to ignore that as white, for sure.
Right. So that's what allows him to play R16.
Okay.
So after this exchange, locally, again, it's sort of one of those shapes that is really difficult to judge who is better, I think.
You mean the whole board is difficult to judge, or?
No, if we just look at the lower left, it's really hard to judge who is better, because after this exchange, so black gets sente, white didn't really gain much other than connect back. So white connected the stone back, gave black the corner and a little bit of the side. And I think I wanted to make this point about this game that, and also it connects with the last game, that after these variations and after these exchanges, I think what the humans, us, what we're losing out on is really judging these results that are really hard to judge.
It seems like to take the human approach, right? That was black's corner. White Tanuki to pincer. I can do this right. White Tanuki's a pincer, and so presumably black needs to get a good result because white ignored black, right, to play elsewhere. But actually, it seems like even though white connects that weak stone that was the 5-3 approach, he connects it, but it's not really doing anything, and it seems like black's shape on the outside is sturdy enough. I don't know. It just seems like it would be very easy for me as a human to feel like I fell behind as black, because I'm like, hey, you Tanuki'd, and I don't have an attack. I don't have anything.
Exactly. That is exactly the point. So when we have a variation like this, and we're reading these out, and if we can't really tell, there's not really like a set calculation of white gained 7 points, black gained 2 points. And I think in a way, Master has been able to do that.
Okay. So
maybe it's very easy for him to turn around. Like, he was attacking that stone. All of a sudden, he changed, right? He changed to taking the territory in the corner, and then take the point on the upper right corner.
He gives up on the he takes the territory on the left. He switches to the upper right hand corner. And white.
Hey, we also saw this exactly same concept in Shuria's game. So in the very beginning, he was focusing on the influence, and all of a sudden he changed the territory, and then he changed it back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, got it. So it seems like the white opening, those exchanges that black made in the lower right hand corner that look questionable. It's looking less and less likely that white is going to be able to do something with them efficiently. So you mentioned that Park Yeonghun's style was more conservative.
Yes, of course. That doesn't mean that during a fight he would back down.
No, of course not.
So his play style is more. He would prefer the type where we both. He would prefer the more calm games.
That ends with an end game. Right. Got it.
So we can see here, like, it seems that black gets a lot of territory now, and if we just look at the whole board now, black has 3 corners, and white has very limited territory, and since the influence of the wall on the right is limited by the R12 stone, white doesn't really have much to gain.
Sure.
So if white can't really attack the 4 stones that I've highlighted here, then I think black is already ahead now.
That's pretty cool.
But it's very hard for white to attack this 4 stone, like what said earlier.
And since the bottom left variation, it seems pretty even for both players. You know, it would seem like the 4 questionable exchanges that black made is what made black ahead. It would seem so, right?
It's very a lot of Go theory going on here.
Yeah, so it really I think it's really good that Master has, you know, put us in this situation where we can we now have a better way of, you know, reevaluating. We really have to, you know, reevaluating our values, looking at and our assumptions as well, and our judgment. Maybe it's questionable.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Do you have? Is there more that you wanted to go into? You said you wanted to talk about the opening. How far do you want to go?
Yeah. So I want to let's go over how this fight goes out. Because it's hard for white to attack this.
To attack. Yeah.
Oof.
Net here.
So if it's hard for white to play on this side, because since this is almost sente and black can just make a jump.
And it looks like black is just hitting the sharpest points possible here for white. So if white can't push over top, white has to push from the right side.
And right? Usually we really don't like this, right? It's
2 stones by hunted.
Yeah, it's hunting 2 stones.
Right.
It's generally a very bad way.
Shade.
And especially since black made this exchange here, black cannot hane now because these 2 stones are dead.
The liberty is very intense.
Right. But black still tanukis, because even if white can capture these, black might just connect here, right? And just let white.
Yeah.
Because this is only
5 stone. 12
or so points.
Black already turned to the left side.
Yeah, so again, he's you know, it's like he's running away now with
it's very easy for him to turn around.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you realize, oh, actually I'm behind because black already got a lot of benefits.
He tricked me into taking too little. He drops his luggage. What's the phrase? Right? You should drop your luggage when you're running away. Right? Black has no problem dropping his suitcase here. It's like, oh, those stones, I didn't actually need them. That's fine. Go for it.
Yes. And that's exactly what he is now as well. He makes the jump. And this is because of this follow-up move. This follow-up move is quite big.
It's a sente move as well.
Whoa, so what's R8 doing over there?
Oh, I was just saying this the J6 stone is going to be very big.
Yeah, J6 looks huge, but why doesn't white take that point? What's white worried about?
No, that was not the actual game. I was just pointing out.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, my mistake.
I don't play the one space jump with 4 stones.
So, and then white makes some more exchanges, and we can see after all of this, white didn't gain anything.
But black get the huge wall outside, right?
Yeah. So all of these stones, white can capture. White can capture these 3 stones as well.
Sure.
Okay. But they're just not really
very small.
And we can see that this push, when black blocks, it's sente. And white needs to fix.
Right. Otherwise, yeah.
And then black can just fix. So the outside is actually very thick.
It's like perfect thickness there.
So the whole situation started with white move, but it turned to like white didn't get anything, but black get to the outside.
That jiu-jitsu
so I think, another observation that I found is that every time when there's a local variation that master ends up in gote, we can always see master benefiting. Like it always seems that it's really good for.
When master takes gote, it's taking it with like a ton of cash that is plain to everyone. Like everyone can see why he takes gote. It's harder to tell why he takes sente.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
We can see, wow, like this thickness, white didn't really gain much, right? And before, if we go back, these again, like this, I've been really stressing the exchanges because I think it's really key for this game, right? These exchanges, we don't know like why he made the exchanges.
Sente, they're super weird. They're super weird.
And it's obvious from a later few moves that these exchanges are beneficial.
So AlphaGo actually has seen like 10 moves ahead already. I mean,
maybe more. I mean, that was maybe 40 moves.
Yeah, 40 moves over there.
Yeah.
And that's actually a great little maxim that we can use as amateurs, because if we're not professionals and we are trying to go over these games ourselves, we can say, did AlphaGo end in Sente or Gote? If AlphaGo ended in Gote, then I should probably count, right? And it's probably good. So I'll be sure to use that when I'm doing my analysis without such luminous lights.
I'm usually very against rule of thumbs in Go.
Oh, totally.
That might be that could be true.
Well, we do have
it's definitely a pattern that we see.
Yeah, and in this case, we have 60 games where we can be fairly sure if we're confused about a result, AlphaGo is probably winning. Like, that's a pretty good rule of thumb for at least these 60 games. So can't say much. We can say that. Okay, so white has to reduce this thickness that black's building on the top.
And we'll just go over a few more moves. So white reduces the thickness, and black uses another very common variation here in the corner.
Right.
It's pretty much a Joseki, right? Again, he just gets a little bit of thickness using these stones here, and he converts it extremely quickly into the
corner
on the top.
He gets the thickness and then throws it away. Just immediately lets.
And then you turn it around again.
And we can see that this E13 stone is very inefficient, right? If you were to put a stone there, you wouldn't put it there.
At least you would put
Sorry,
it in
where would you put it? Would you click? Show us where you would put it.
Probably in the third line.
Here?
Yeah.
Instead of...
Right. So E13 has ended up in a silly spot.
Okay.
So right after this, it's really hard for white to play now, right? Black has a lot of territory, and the influence part is very limited.
White's influence in the upper left isn't really going to do anything.
No. Instead, they still have some weakness. There's a cut there.
Right. There's if black has a stone around this area, then if black has a stone at around J17, there's this Hane right at E16.
So if that upper left position is really bad for white, did white need to choose a different Joseki? Is there a different option that he could have picked, that Park Yeonghun could have picked instead of?
Right. That's definitely the right thing to assume. But for this attachment, white only really has two choices. Right. Deck back and let black have the tiger's mouth, or the one in the game.
Oh, the one that we saw.
I think this one is better. What do you think?
Well, the other one really doesn't look good, for sure.
So I think the reason why Park Yeonghun didn't choose this was that this stone is still in a very, very bad.
Sure, E13.
Yeah, the E13 stone. So if white tanukis, there's still a detachment, right? And
there's still cut. Yeah.
So if white has to spend another move to fix, then no, that's
too much. We cannot endure it.
Yeah, and we've been saying that white doesn't have enough territory right now. Black has 4 corners.
So black already has a comfortable lead. Somehow.
Yeah.
I think
and unfortunately we didn't see Park Yeonghun's strong point, right? That was pretty much most of the game. After this result, there wasn't too much more.
So is it possible that the very third move, like the initial approach of the corner, is just not a valid, like, because it seemed like all the way back, P4, right?
P4, wow. I mean, it would be impossible to make that judgment. I think even like no matter maybe Master in a few years can tell us that, but that's just mind blowing.
The idea that
this
could be
is not a valid move. Like I mean, in the opening, like we would tell people in the opening you could play anything,
right?
And by anything we don't really mean anything, but you can play moves that are reasonably like big moves.
I think
you'll be fine.
Right.
You'll be fine.
I think in this game probably the main reason for White to get behind is to the left corner, at the bottom corner, because White gets so squeezed.
In the lower left. White, so it's not this sequence; it was the lower left sequence.
Right. In my opinion, yes.
Got it. Okay. So
there might be a better.
Maybe there's a better move. Maybe later. So I think this is okay. So after Black played R16, I would say at least attacking those 4 stones are not very satisfied. So I would say maybe there's a better move. For example, invading on the left side first.
Yeah, C12.
Yeah, because Black won't save those 4 stones anyway. So why doesn't?
So from this point to this point, White definitely, we can see very clearly that White lost. Black benefited from these exchanges.
Right.
So this is from an intuitive point of view that this was bad.
So White kind of just played himself here. Is that fair? I don't know. I mean, he took a swing there at the 4 stones on the bottom, but like.
So you're saying that the 9P played himself?
Do you have a better alternative? I would love to. I mean.
Well,
I'm all ears. It's hard to say because it seems like White initiated that, right? But definitely the result at the end, we can't.
I think this is White should definitely maybe try something else and.
Right.
Sure.
So like another thing is very important for AlphaGo and can beat our human beings is like our feeling. Like for example, in this situation, our feeling is to attack those 4 stones.
Right.
But after one variation finished, we realized actually we should not attack. But we didn't see before or ahead.
Sure.
That's the problem for us.
Got it.
So like in Go for pros, it's intuition is pretty much half your skill. Because even with long games, especially now in these tournaments, they're generally fast, and in fast, I'm referring to maybe an hour and an hour and a half each, with maybe 30-40 second Byo-Yomi. So that for these faster games, it's impossible to calculate
to read
all. You can only read a certain amount of variations. So intuition is so important, and maybe these intuitions are not always correct. And for us, you can't really tell, right? It's hard. If we can't make the judgment that right now attacking these 4 stones is not beneficial, then we can never beat Master.
So do you think?
Right. So,
think this will lead
so like after the variation, we can realize actually we shouldn't attack those 4 stones, but we just can't figure it out before.
Right.
So we have intuition to attack. So
do you
I think the prediction is we can't predict a lot of moves ahead compared with Master. Right. So after the variation is finished, then we can realize actually we should not do that.
The Master's out reading us here in these quick games. Do you think that this could lead to maybe we play more slow games? Like, do you think that with slower time limits? So what you're saying, Ryan, seems to mirror Lee Sedol's comments after the first match, where he said that after his match with AlphaGo, he was re-emphasizing the importance of reading in his games and reading very deeply and very accurately.
Right.
And so that sort of sounds like what you're saying is what we would need to do with our longer time controls. If we can figure out a way to play longer tournaments, which is difficult given, you know, the whole climate. Everything's got to go fast, right?
I actually asked a very similar question to my pro friends. I said, what about we play like 10 pros play like 2-day a game with AlphaGo? Can we still win? And they said, no, we still lose.
Oh man, because I feel like AlphaGo would hit very diminishing returns. Is my sense is that AlphaGo's, you know, initial calculations are very strong, but it's not necessarily going to be able to get that much farther down the tree. Maybe it will, but I that would be my guess.
See that. You can see that in the fourth game.
Yeah.
Of Lisa versus AlphaGo, right? We saw it break apart with that odd heavenly move.
Ah man, that's just a move for heroes. That's a move for the mortals.
I think Master gives us a different feeling though. Maybe if we asked that question last year in March, pros would say, "Oh, if we had more time, we would be able to beat it."
Right.
But now I think after seeing that different Master, a different AlphaGo, it's they have a totally different view now.
And this is definitely a different AlphaGo then, huh?
I think so. It's upgraded Master. upgraded AlphaGo.
Okay.
I think it's all in some point it's about the judgment levels.
Sure.
So like I think I can't say but at least me the AlphaGo judgment is way higher than my judgment. Like some variations I cannot see.
Yes, and we did point that out sometimes during the games, right? And also during Shuria's game, you can see the judgment being better. And I think yeah, it's definitely one of the key points.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much. That sounds great. We're going to do a couple more of these here in the weeks to come. So thank you very much. Ryan, Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. If you guys are watching, you know, stay tuned for more of those. What's the problem behind you guys? This is your last chance. I assume that we're at Stephanie's Go School in New York City. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the problem back there is, you should tell the folks who've been, I'm sure, trying to figure it out the whole time.
Maybe you, do you want to tell? Maybe that's the question for all of the audience.
Okay, well, you got to tell them whose turn it is, right?
Maybe you should figure it out.
It's white to play.
It's white to play.
Well, that's unusual. Most of them are black to play, right? So. Sorry, say that again.
Can you see
it? It's been in the frame the whole time. You sure?
Okay, so that's what you've been doing. That's why you've been talking.
That's right. Exactly.
You're trying to figure it out.
All right.
We have these weekly problems here.
Weekly problems at the Go School? All right. Well, if you're in New York City, you should definitely check it out. Stephanie, Ryan, thank you guys so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. Any last words? Any final remarks?
No, pretty much covered everything. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
With us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.